So welcome back to DecoyNoise and another episode of Am I the Antagonist in Am I the Antagonist for getting my daughter's teacher fired? So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below and turning on those notifications. As DecoyNoise has hit that 1K sub mark, I gotta say the conversation on the YouTube videos themselves have become more interesting and controversial than anything I've seen on Reddit, so make sure if you want to watch the drama unfold or contribute to the drama unfolding, you're subscribed, put the notifications on so you can be the first of the video because it happens fast now. So let's go ahead and get to this thread because it's gonna be interesting. So OP writes, a while ago, my 8-year-old daughter was having snack time in her 2nd grade classroom when she began choking. The teacher didn't notice and her friends thought she was kidding at first. Then they offered her water, then they talked amongst themselves for a period of time, scared, and eventually someone alerted the teacher. From what I've been told, this took place over a minute to a minute and a half. By the time the teacher came over to my daughter, she was clutching her throat and collapsed out of her chair in a panic. The teacher was trained in the Heimlich maneuver and all basic first aid, but did not administer it. Apparently at this point, the other students became frightened and began aggressively asking the teacher what to do and getting upset. The teacher, as I was told, became overwhelmed at that point and froze. She directed a student to call the nurse. None of the children knew how to use the landline's phone extension system. Thankfully, at this point, a teacher from another classroom came over to check on the commotion and administered the Heimlich maneuver. I was told that when the teacher found my daughter, she was psionic? I don't know what that word is. Someone tell me what that is. Psionic, and clearly had not received any attempts at aid. When I first got to the hospital where they took her for precautionary examinations, what I was told by the principal was she choked, a teacher did the Heimlich maneuver, and she was now fine. I thought, okay, things happened, she's okay, that's all that matters. Then when I'm consoling my daughter, who was understandably upset, she said, but Mrs., my teacher didn't help me. Why didn't she help me? That's when I returned to speak with the principal, and he said all he could tell me was she choked and someone administered the Heimlich maneuver until a full incident report was compiled. When I finally got the story I relayed above, I met with the school and said I demanded my daughter's teacher receive some sort of remedial first aid and crisis management training. They said that she had already completed all available training and she had a human reaction, and you could never know how you'll react in that situation. I followed up with legal counsel saying that essentially that if that's her human response to something as simple as choking, then she should not be trusted with kids. She also reached out and apologized saying she'd never been in the situation and she was so scared. I organized with other parents who were appalled by the story and wrote to the administration. They attempted to settle with me financially, it's a private school, and to switch the children of anyone who joined me in complaining to a new class, but I declined and insisted if there was no remedial training available, then she should not be able to teach in a classroom. Today I got word that she won't return after the end of the year. I should be feeling triumphant, but instead I feel really sick, like maybe I've taken this entirely too far. Am I the antagonist? So I see there's an edit down below, but with DecoyNoise, we take it to decoy court without any other information. It's just knee-jerk reaction, but also I'm giving them the decoy defense where I'm going to give my opinion, but then also counter arguments that might be also occurring. So I want to go ahead and say that, no, I'm sorry to the teacher. Like, OP is right, they're not the antagonist. Sad to say, life isn't fair. Just because the teacher is trying doesn't mean that they're right for the job. Like, we know that now, and it sounds callous, but it's the same way you could tell Decoy, hey, you can't be in the NBA no matter what. Like, maybe I can try really hard and I'm good for it cut out mentally, but I'm just never going to be tall enough, athletic enough, fast enough, skilled enough. I'm just not going to do it. Just like this teacher can't do this one thing. Maybe I'm affiliated in the organization. I could be like a coach assistant or like a video editor or something, but I'll never be a player. So you could tell this teacher, yeah, it sucks you're getting fired, but maybe you can be an administrator, an online instructor, a college teacher or something where you're just not around where you need to do this Heimlich maneuver because sometimes kids choke. Like, you need to be there for that. And I say this was a human response. You can't tell what they're going to do under pressure, but now we do. Now we know exactly what that teacher is going to do under pressure, and they're going to freeze and say, hey, call the nurse. Like, a minute and a half go by. That's terrible. And the sad part is, though, is like, it's easy for people on the outside to say, hey, you're being an antagonist here. Like, don't get them fired because they made one mistake. But this is more than just one mistake. Like, the kid could have died. Like, if I need heart surgery, I don't want the person that, they try hard and they know the job and they're okay, they're just not good under pressure. No, I want like Tony Stark or like Kobe Bryant at pressure. I just want someone that knows how to operate in that moment. Like, you can't just say, okay, that's cool. Like, You just don't know. And then also lawsuits, like why is it, I understand that sometimes teachers get tenure, and I don't understand how private school situations work out, but just the idea that why did the school only respond when they said they got legal counsel to say, hey, you got to get rid of this teacher? Like, what are you doing? Like, we already know this is what's going to happen. So what happens if this happens again and they say, oh yeah, that teacher almost let the other kid choke, now this kid chokes? Like, why is a school protecting this person? So that'd be like another thing. So like I say, with Decoy Court, we're going to give them the other side of it, which is nothing. This is the first time that I'm doing it this way. I have nothing that I can say about keeping the teacher in the spot and the OP not being an antagonist. Like, yes, this stings that you're getting this person fired, but it would be much worse if you accepted whatever, like they gave you 10 grand to just make it disappear and say, hey, shut up, don't talk about this anymore. And then later on another kid chokes and they're not as lucky as your kid. You'd feel all types of terrible. So possibly there's another aspect I'm not seeing of this in the comments, and you guys can shed some light on this. So I mean, I'm very open and receptive to you guys telling me what I'm missing, but I just can't see a way of OP being in the wrong for trying to say, hey, you got to get this person fired. They're not cut out for it. So I mean, I'm taking a firm decision on this. Let me know if you don't think I'm wrong down below. Pause the video, take a break, get yourself that decoy coin for the DecoyNoise.com website. But let's go ahead and look at the edit right now. So edit. Wrote CPR when I was thinking Heimlich. Sorry, long day. Was discussing medical advanced directives with my parents just a bit before writing this. So it looks like maybe they did an edit before we came on here. So the top comment is, I'm going to say you're not the antagonist. You don't get the teacher fired. Her inaction did, and it could have cost your child her life. Very true. As a teacher, I've dealt with medical emergencies that I've never dealt with before. It's scary, but I have to keep moving, not only for the safety of the student in need, but for the other students as well. Yes, sometimes people freeze, but that's her natural reaction to danger. It's probably best she not be in the classroom. Yeah, kind of like how I said, maybe she's just an online instructor. I got a friend that does, like, I forgot what grade he teaches, but it's like he's just on the computer giving interaction. Like, the kids are being like homeschooled for the most part, but he's still a teacher. He's still an educator doing everything that he went to school for, but he's just not in front of anybody, and that works out great, and quite possibly gets paid more. I don't know, maybe the private school gets paid more, but this actually could be like a blessing in disguise for all the parties involved. They learn that they're not cut out for the job, the kid still gets saved, and then the teacher gets a higher paying job later on, or a job that's like more recession proof, or more like, aligned with the future of education. I know I'm getting a bit far, but I mean, yeah, this could be a good thing all around. But let's go ahead and say the next reply. I watched my classmate die choking in the 5th grade. The teachers responded immediately, and she still died. Not the antagonist, OP. This is a sad situation, but she shouldn't teach if she cannot respond in the correct manner. I would also suggest the school has some basic training for students on what to do in these situations, but why they don't have panic buttons installed. Which is true. Like, I haven't been in grade school in a very long time, and maybe they have panic buttons where, like, if they don't understand how to use the extension 516 nurse pound or whatever it is, like, maybe they just have a button where the kid doesn't need to know anything other than, hey, there's trouble, something's happening, help us, which would be a good alternative. But let's go ahead and read this next top comment. So they quoted the idea that OP said, I demanded my daughter's teacher receive some sort of remedial first aid and crisis manager training, and they say that's a reasonable request. And they also quoted the idea that the teacher already completed that training and had a human reaction. You never know how they're going to react in that situation. So then they wrote, the whole point of training is to practice over and over again so they'll be able to automatically do the right thing in an emergency. Proper prior practice prevents piss poor performance. Well, that's a way to say it. And not the antagonist. The school is the antagonist. And that's exactly what it is. Like, why they stood up for the teacher, I don't know. What tenure with teachers, I've heard about that, where it's kind of hard to terminate a teacher after they've been around for a while. So maybe that was a thing. And sad to say that they wanted to be a teacher so they could teach kids and, like, make an impact in their handwriting and their knowledge of history and math and geometry or what, but they didn't sign up to be doing the Heimlich maneuver. But that's a part of it. Like, you can train somebody all you want, but the idea that in the moment, however they're hardwired to act under pressure, it's very hard to change that. I feel like if I'm hiring somebody, I can teach them the job. I can't teach them poise. I can teach them how to fill out paperwork and how to do correct documentation, but I can't teach them when, you know, crap hits the fan and everything's going wrong. Can they compose themselves and still do what I've asked them to do the correct way and not panic? And that's just something that I don't even, like I say, I can't train them that, because, but I mean, could you train somebody how to act under pressure other than putting them in that same pressure situation over and over so they can get the repetition of it? Because doing CPR in a CPR class is nothing like seeing somebody non-responsive in front of you and then actually doing it. So what are we gonna do? Like, just make a whole bunch of people choke in front of this teacher so they can finally get accustomed to that moment? I'm gonna go ahead and say no, but let's go ahead and read the next reply. Unfortunately, a lot of emergency training that I've been a part of has been aimed at giving a person basic understanding of the technique, but not the repetition part. Even so, the school definitely should have having her taking another CPR class and not fire her. You have all may guess I'm in the USA, so I mean that's true. Maybe not fire her, but I disagree with that. I want this poster to think about, you know, people they know, loved ones they have, and would they say, would you feel more comfortable putting them in that teacher's class, knowing what you know about them and how they act under pressure, or a teacher that has a better track record with that? I mean, I'm just genuinely curious if everybody, it's easy to say just be fair to everybody and give everybody everything they want, they try hard, when it's like a theoretical thing. But if it's your loved ones, your grandmother, your children, you would probably say, pass, I don't want them in there. It's easy to volunteer your neighbor's lunch, never your own. Let's look at this next top reply. No antagonist here. Your daughter almost died. The adult in her care froze. You're not the antagonist for freezing. Oh, she's not the antagonist for freezing. Nevertheless, she froze. The school could have figured out a solution other than firing her, even if they wanted to. Even if they had completely all available training, there is nothing stopping her from repeating the training, getting psychological help, something. This is not on you, OP. And like I was kind of thinking before, is just, it might sting a bit right now to be the one that's getting her terminated or putting the steps in motion to get her fired, but it would have been much worse on you if you found out that later on somebody in their care had passed away because you didn't say anything. That's just like that's just the fact. Hopefully it never happens, but if it did, it's not worth it to take the chance. But like I said, top comments are for perspective, controversial comments are for entertainment, or maybe better perspective that we didn't see before. So the top controversial comment is, you're the antagonist. It's easy to blame until you're in a situation like that yourself. We all like to think we'll be good in crisis, but you don't really know until you're tested. Don't get me wrong, the school failed their employees as well, but you were the one pushing the boulder over the hill. So they got up negative or 92 points, so it seems like people liked it, just a lot of people didn't. I don't like this because it's like they're pushing it on someone that has nothing to do with the situation. Yeah, maybe OP would be terrible in that situation too, but it doesn't mean that OP's teaching a class with kids in it. We do know how that particular teacher is going to act. I don't want my kids inside that class because that person can do nothing for them other than freeze and ask a kid, call the nurse. Would this poster right here feel the same way if it was their children? I don't know. Maybe they'd say yes just to prove a point, but I have a hard time thinking that if you saw that situation, you'd be willing to put yourself in their care. Like, let's say the heart surgeon analogy. Like, if you knew a heart surgeon was that way, it's like, you don't know how you'd act in that moment when, you know, the chest is open and you're entering the tubes. I don't understand surgery, but it's like, who cares if I'm not good in that situation? I'm hiring you to do something else. So no, I don't think that argument transfers. But the reply to that was, agreed, human reaction. She's a teacher, not an EMT. You're the antagonist. She's not an EMT, but I do expect her to be caring, like being able to take care of an emergency situation. That's why they're there. Like, I mean, obviously they didn't sign up for that particularly, but it's a big facet of the job. Just because the EMT isn't there to give, I don't know what a good analogy is, but what's that? I'm kind of running a blank on that. But just because there's a rare facet of an EMT's job doesn't mean that they get a pass for not having to do it because it's a rare instance. Like, you still, if it's part of it, it's part of it. But let's go ahead and say, the next top controversial reply is, you're the antagonist. She's a teacher, not an EMT. At 8, most kids are beyond choking on things, so people in general, teachers, parents, strangers on the street, tend to not notice as much. Also, she had a very human reaction, freezing. Unless you've had previous experience in a situation or training, sometimes even trained professionals freeze, it's common to have every thought shut down, panic, and not know what to do next. So you ruined her career over being human. I think that you ruined her career over being unfit for the job. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel about it, because I just couldn't imagine saying, hey, she had a human reaction, so I'm just going to go ahead and give him a pass and say, you're not good at it. come back again and try. I just don't see it. But let's see. The next reply to that is the teachers should be trained properly. And then also, have you ever been in a life or death situation? It's not easy. Even trained professionals freeze. It takes experience in those situations, and that takes years. Teachers are already grossly underpaid. Also, we're talking about an 8-year-old, not a tot, which are prone to choking. So the one thing I'll say is, I'm not going to dox myself, but it's like I've been in plenty of life or death situations where I had to act quickly, and just whatever you've experienced in your life before that, you can either be hardwired. This is my belief, is you can be hardwired to be able to act accordingly in those situations. And also, I've seen my friends, not friends, but like coworkers, deer in headlights. Like, they just don't know what they're doing. It takes them a while to acclimate to it, and I do believe that, you know, seeing the situation enough makes them better off. But sometimes it's just a way you were raised, or like, you know, situations that you've come up seeing in your professional life that help you get to the point where you can act in that. This situation, this life or death situation, is only going to happen maybe once, maybe 3 times in a career, but it's not enough to make her learn that situation. That teacher is just unfit for this position. But as I'm seeing the top comments and controversial comments being so drastically split, I can already tell I'll probably get flack in the comment section down below because I have an actual strong opinion in this. But like I said, I'm open to your feedback. Let me know I'm wrong. Earn yourself that decoy koi coin, because it'll be worth something. You can contribute to the stories better, decoy or Discord, moderator, whatever it may be. It'll be worth something in the near future. But like I say, if you made it this far in the video, make sure you subscribe down below. I appreciate you guys watching the entire clip and just kind of seeing me, I guess, evolve my opinion of what's going on. And I also like to read your comments to kind of figure out if I change my mind as well. But if you haven't already, subscribe down below, turn notifications on, check out DecoyNoise.com for that audio-only podcast, or fill out some surveys, give me some good feedback. But if anything, put this on autoplay and check out what DecoyNoise is coming up next.